Hey guys, another video. So today I'm going to be installing the engine guard. I opted for the 2-sensor engine guard. You can get these for fluid sensors. I've opted for the bolt-on sensors. I'm already monitoring my coolant temps via another external gauge. What I'm actually going to be using this for is I want to see how efficient my cooling system is. I'm going to have one of the sensors here bolted on the outlet of the motor, and then I'm going to bolt one of these on the inlet on the other side of the radiator, somewhere near the thermostat on the 80 series. So previously I've been using my heat gun while the engine's up to operating temp. I'm just running the heat gun over some bolts on those housings just to see which one picks up the most closest temp to the water temp. I think I found the right ones. I'm going to give it a go. I may move them in future, but I've been monitoring it for about 3 weeks now and I think I found the ones I'm going to use. So I'll do a quick run over the kit. This is just in the shed here. I'm pretty sure I've got everything. I'm going to run out to the 80 series and start the install. Let's do it. So it's got some extra wire, all my connectors, multimeter, that's going to come in handy, heat shrink, soldering iron. This was the kit. You got 2 sensors there, and the main unit here. Bit of wiring, and an audible alarm. Owner's manual, instruction manual. One nice thing they give you as well is a little letter saying thank you. This is an Aussie made unit, and yeah, with the unit I got a little thank you letter saying thanks for supporting Australian manufacturing, which I reckon's pretty damn neat. Let's get to the install. So one thing great about the 80 series here is they've got a little power outlet in the engine bay, which has already got accessories and ignition cables hooked up to it. It's already fused and everything, and I actually haven't utilised it yet. For this install, I'm gonna come have a look. So that's the little unit there. It's already fused. You've got an earth point here, accessories and ignition. So I've got it tucked in through the firewall there. Just got to remove the kick panel, pull some vinyl back. So as I was saying, couldn't be easier. Just remove that driver's side kick panel here. It's just held in with 3 clips along the scuttle plate there. And then the grommet's up in the top here, and that's the wire that I've pulled through. So as you've seen, kick panel's off, wiring's pulled through the grommet there. I am going to fuse it on this side of the firewall, even though it is fused in the engine bay. I'm fusing it because the specifications for the engine guard is to only have a 5 amp fuse. I have plans to take some more ignition power from that box in the 80 series, so I'm going to leave that fused in there. I'm going to fuse it in the kick panel, run a direct supply straight to the engine guard unit. Then if I need to tap in to that again, it's still fused from factory, but I'm not overloading, or I'm not potentially overloading the engine guard unit. So I'm only going to have a 5 amp fuse in my remote fuse locator, which will just be tucked up in the kick panel there. Easy, let's keep going. Quick tip before you're about to solder. Make sure you put your heat shrink on before you're going to do your solder joints. So let's get some soldering done. I find pushing them together, let them sort of crisscross a little bit, and then a little twist. I find that provides a substantial join. There's plenty of ways out there. This is pretty good here because you've got the 2 different colours of cable, so you can sort of see them, they're nicely crisscrossed in there. There's a good mix. You just get some heat in there. And then I find, because that's a pretty big cable, if you waited for the heat to get to the top to feed it in, all this would be real hot. So I just give it about 20-30 seconds, feed a bit onto the tip, and you can sort of see it get drawn up and in. See that? Once it starts to get drawn up and in, that's when yeah, look at that, beautiful. Now I know that that's nice and hot. And then you can even feed a bit in the top there. Look at that. It's just flowing in. Look at that. And then it flows back down on the tip. Now I know there's substantial solder in there. And that is not coming apart. So all that's left to do now, pull the heat shrink over your joins. Make sure you've got enough heat shrink so there's no bare wires exposed. So you just slip the heat shrink over, apply some heat. Shrinks on nicely. Easy. It's probably the hardest thing of this whole install so far has just been trying to keep the wiring neat. Any wiring I've added to this, I've tried to make it neat. I've still got a lot to go, but let's have a look at some of the wiring so far. So we've got it all just running into the driver's side firewall here. And you come down into the footwell. We've got all the wires jumped in here, but that will be in behind the kick panel. And then all my wires running across in that little bit of conduit there. Coming up, some go over the transmission tunnel, some into the little accessories I've added. Still got plenty to go. Stick with us. Alright, first sensor installed just down there on the lower radiator inlet to the motor, just where the thermostat is on the side of the 1.8Z motor here. Got the wiring come running up here. I've still got to run it in, and I'll go into that grommet again. One quick tip I just wanted to show you, might help you a little bit, because I didn't do it before and it's a bit of a rat's nest at the moment, but because the wire comes like all rolled up in a neat little circle sort of thing, if you've got a nice sunny day, just lay it out in the sun. That's what I've done with the second one. Alright, so passenger side is done. Just run down all through the conduit there, around the back of the firewall there, and boom, into that grommet. So it comes in through the firewall, passenger side this is, across the transmission tunnel and over to where I'm going to mount the gauge. Alright guys, coming up to the end of the install. All the wiring's done, it all looks real neat. I've got all the trim back on. All I've got to do is terminate the cables in that junction box in the engine bay. I'll give you a quick look inside. So that's where I've mounted the unit. I still haven't stuck that down. I just want to see exactly where I want to put it, so that's just sitting there for now. Yeah, let's go check out the engine bay. So all I'll do now is just terminate those two cables. Let's do it. Alright, I think I'm done. Just finished the connections in the engine bay here. Let's go see if it turns up. Well, that's loud. So that would be input 1, little light next to the 1, 30 degrees. See next, input 2, 25 degrees. Excellent. Now I think we'll go for a bit of a drive and make sure they are behaving. Alright guys, in the 80 series today, got the caravan hooked up. Got a good test to see exactly what the numbers are doing on these gauges. So previous to this, I've just had it with no load, just everyday driving, and yeah, it's pretty much bang on what my water temp's sitting at, the contact sensor's sitting at. Radiator's working pretty efficiently with no load. It's good to see now that with the load on the back, the temperature's obviously getting a bit hotter. And it's good to see the difference, and it's very reassuring knowing that the water coming back into the motor is a lot cooler than what's coming out. That's the contact sensor coming out of the motor. And that's the contact sensor going back into the motor. So we're going up a hill now, so this will be a good demonstration on how the temps start to climb while the motor's under a lot more load. Yeah, as you can see, the water coming out of the motor is climbing, but it's still going back in. It's nice and steady. So the water temp's a bit higher compared to what the contact sensor's doing. From what I've found, that seems to be the case. The fluid sensor will jump up higher as it's drawing the heat out of the motor, about it is it's reassuring to know that even though the water coming out of the motors gets hot, because it does climb quite quick once you start climbing some big long hills, it's good to see that the radiator is still efficient, it's still keeping the water cooler, so the water going back into the motor is cool, helping keep everything cool. Happy days. Thanks for watching. There'll be plenty more vids, so make sure you check them out. Catch up.